And we're recording. Okay. All right. Okay. We're gonna give Facebook a couple minutes before we get started. God, what was I've read so much this weekend. There's lots of good stuff. I gave your book, Coast wrote a good blurb that was due today.
I just saw that.
Well, I hope it was a good blurb. I thought it was a good blurb. And
It's
Julia,
such a good,
what one of your books that's coming out?
yeah, all friends are necessary. Thank
All
you.
Friends Are Necessary. What a good book that is.
I know.
I know.
I love that book. Yeah.
Yeah. Andrea, you got to give me something that I can blurb for you next time.
Okay, I know I actually owe you a box of galleys.
Okay. Well, because there was there was a lot of good stuff. So tonight we're hosting Colin McCann for his book American Mother. And he wrote this in with Diane Foley, Jim Foley's mother. And Jim Foley was the journalist who was beheaded by ISIS back in, I believe it was 2014 or 15.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
But man, oh man, oh man. Read that book. I'm only halfway in, but it's this super intense story, which is Diane Foley's story about her son and meeting the terrorist who was one of the Beatle, we called him like oh God, I can't remember. Anyways, but this intense story, and imagine that with Colin McCann writing it. And it's just phenomenal. So anyway, so that event's tonight. And so we already talked about it last week. And so if you're on here already, I can't see who's on Facebook yet, but if you're on here already, we talked about the Jonna Mendez last week, which is In True Face. Oh, hold on. As you can see, I'm at the store. Sorry. Not totally prepared. In True Face, if you didn't buy it last week when Julia talked about it, which you should have, buy it this week because it is the most fascinating story, and she is the most fascinating woman, and it was one of the best events I've sat through in a long time. I wanted her to just sit there and tell me stories for the whole night.
I mean, who doesn't love a spy?
Who doesn't love a spy? The whole thing about twins. Okay, so this is something so they worked with Hollywood with like and sorry, Gabe and just bear with me a minute because I'm all about this book for a second.
It's fine.
I think you'll find this fascinating. So they actually worked with Hollywood's magic people, like not even so much the Hollywood, but like people up in Hollywood that were like from the magic club, being the magic people that they created these faces with, because there's so much that you can do with a twin. So when you're a twin, you can go into a kiosk, for example, and be doing something and leave, and one face, that's why it's called A True Face. So one face leaves and the person that's following them will follow that person, and you can continue doing what you're doing. I mean, she just had stories. So she actually met, I think, George H.W. Bush. She met him at the Oval Office in a mask. I mean,
wow.
She's fascinating. She was all about, I mean, she was the one who wrote Argo. Anyways, so I can't talk enough about that book.
Yeah.
And about her. So it's so good. So
I'm so glad it went well, and I'm so glad she was so great.
And she's 80, I think.
Wow.
She was better than a lot of our younger authors, let me tell you. I mean, this woman was on it. I mean, It was, so I want to support her on all levels of this thing. So it was really good. So anyway.
Cool.
All right. So it's going to go Gabe, Andrea, Julia. So Gabe, I think Amanda's let you share your screen. So take it away.
Taking it and running with it like it was a TV during a riot.
Oh my God.
The good old days.
I love the title of this.
This is such a good book. This is one of those books I've talked about, and of course not. It's the title always throws me. like remarkably bright creatures. The story, Jules, and you read it a long time ago. It is the guy from Night Vale's wife. I'm
Oh,
completely like, um,
but
um,
I know, why am I blanking too?
anyways, it's one of these fantastical novels. So I'll just start with the way the book starts off. 1995, Alex Dean's got a spot at Cambridge, thinking about going to university, and he falls in love with a girl named Holly. So he's out courting Holly, 1995, remember, and they are out at it's like early spring, about this time of year, it sounds like, as I recall, and they're having a beer out there outside by the Thames, and this guy comes up and says, I told you if I ever saw you again, I was going to beat the hell out of you. So he pounds him, uh, just leaves him there in the almost in the middle, almost in the river. And the next day or the next time we see Alex, he wakes up in a very derelict looking place. He's got these clothes on. He looks in the mirror. He looks like he's 15 years older. And it's because it's now 2010, and he is in fact 15 years older. And then he goes to bed that night, and he wakes up the next day, and it's no longer 2010, it's 1999. So he's only 4 years away from the fight that put him into this coma. So he at first I thought, okay, yeah, I'm good with an author that goes back and forth in time, and we're looking at I was imagining a couple or three various time frames that we're going to be bouncing back through. But what you soon realize is that this fellow Alex is living his life in a non-linear way. He is just going to bed one day, and he's going to wake up August 1999 one day, and the next day it might be 2023. But his life slowly and so in that vein, the plot is drawn out through these various different points of time where we see what has been occurring in his life that he's completely kind of unaware of. But it's as he experiences it, he remembers it like a regular day. So it's not like he doesn't have any memories, but when he lives those days, it's like he's actually living them then, and then they imprint themselves in him, and he gains something, whether it be information, like what happened to Holly. He's not with Holly anymore. What happened to Holly? He calls on her family, and they chase him out of the house because they hate him. What's going on? Next time he wakes up, he's like back in time with Holly in the middle of what happened. So I really am not a fantasy guy necessarily. You really gotta put it out there, and like I always say, I read The Hobbit. Thought, yeah, it was fun. It was all right, you know. But this book and almost came to me. It's just such a fun read. It is such a weird idea, I thought initially, and I'm like, can you pull it off? I was completely I just had to keep turning the pages to find out what went on. So I've been waiting. It came out last week, but I had a lot of books last week. This week's a little lighter, and I thought I would lead with one of my favorites of the season. Just fun. It's an interesting narrative. It's an interesting telling.
So
I love it.
It sounds like a time traveler's wife with a more of a noir edge.
Yeah, you might call it noir, or it's very he's very derelict in his life. I mean, the way he earns his money is by playing his guitar in the corner. You know, he doesn't have a set focus, and since the head injury and stuff, he's not quite right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a little edge to this book. It's not, it's not like your romance novel, and we're gonna, we're exchanging letters across time. It's like, man, this is what's going on, which is what happened in my life, and I'm just picking it up in these. I don't know. I just thought it was pretty brilliant.
No, I love books like that because Beth Doherty is the one that reminded us. There was a book called Una Out of Order, and that was a Macmillan title. But that's very similar in concept to this. I love these kind of books. They're so much fun.
Yeah. I also think it takes great skill. It looks pretty seamless. It seems pretty seamless, but it takes great skill to do it and pull it off.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because I was expecting, that's the thing. You start reading it and you're like, okay, so this is what's going on, and then can you pull it off?
But you weren't thinking of Things Gone Astray, were you?
Things Gone Astray. Yeah.
Was that you were thinking of?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I love that book so much.
I did
Is
too.
he? She's the wife of the
Yeah,
Welcome to Night Vale people?
Kramer. Yeah, Craner.
Really? I didn't know
Jeffrey
that.
Craner. Yeah,
Um,
I didn't know till after I met Jeffrey and Fink a couple times, and I read it somewhere, and I'm like, wait a minute.
yeah,
Oh,
of
because she
Things
wrote a
Gone
memoir.
Astray. But I don't even think you can get a Things Gone Astray. I think we talked about this before on here. I think you can only get it in the UK still. I don't think you can get it in the US
We
anymore.
got a handful in stock, and I think it might go like a POD kind of thing. I'm
Okay.
pushing hard to keep it in like at least a print on demand. So
I hope so, because that's still our book club. That was one of the best conversations we had.
it's a
was
really
about-
good
It's
conversation
a
to have.
really good. So I can't wait for this one. This one sounds really good.
Fun.
All right, Andrea, what do you got for us?
I am very excited to talk about Blessed Water by Margot Duhaye. This is the second from this young, lovely author. The first was Scorched Grace, and this is the second in a series, a Sister Holiday mystery. Sister Holiday, of course, is, you may remember from talking about the first one, is she talks like a sailor. She's a chain smoking lesbian nun who talks like a sailor, and who finds herself in the middle of nasty murders, and they tend to be elemental in scope. The first one, Scorched Grace, was death by fire. Here, Blessed Water is death by water. So you can see, I don't know if the next one, somebody near the parish where she works in New Orleans is going to be found dead in what do they call those hangars where they test planes with air, like the wind
wind
tunnels? Who knows? I'm not really sure, but it's something like that. Anyway, I just think that this is a great, fun series. They're great reads. They're fun to pass around. I think they'd be great for book clubs that are interested in reading mysteries. This is definitely a throwback to a noir type of sensibility. And this is from Gillian Flynn Books, part of the Zando family. And she has a good eye. As you can see at the top of the cover here, she says it's one hell of a mystery. And I'm really glad that she brought Duhaye to publication. And this time around, Sister Holiday has a newly minted PI apprentice certificate, so she's really getting into solving the mysteries. The thing I really like is that each of these like short, very propulsive chapters has a cliffhanger. So it's just so great. It harkens back to a more except for the murder part, it like harkens back to a more innocent age of like the mystery genre. And let me see, what else Gillian Flynn says, like more broadly. Sister Holiday is simply a joy of a narrator and definitely my kind of character. Flawed, dark, buoyant, and often laugh out loud funny. And that's really true. So I'm just hoping that that when you pick this up and engage your book club folks, that you enjoy it as much as I do. They also have quite a series look going. Here's let me see. Here's Scorched Grace. Can you see that? So these just look good on the shelves, and they'll look good on your home shelf as well. So
That's it. And Amanda popped on because Amanda, I think she loved the first one, and Kim LaRue on here loved Scorched Grace, and so she's so happy this one's out. But Amanda was on there showing this one too. There it is.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I think Amanda loves this too.
I have it behind me here. I've just like redid my my little display. So anyway, So I'm excited. Kim, that's excellent. I'm glad and enjoy this one. And I can't wait to see, what she does next because she's just a really enthusiastic and lovely young author, and we like enthusiastic and lovely authors.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right, Julia. What do you
Okie
got for
doke.
us?
Okay, so I don't know about you guys, have spent the whole weekend watching basketball.
I'm number 2 in
most-
my pools. Number 1 in one pool and number 2 in another pool.
I'm
Yes.
jealous. I don't do the grids. I'm not very good at doing stuff like that, but I'm excited for you. But
Thank
I've been watching mostly the women's NCAA March Madness. If you haven't been, man, they have been some great games. But because all my big books are coming out next week, I thought I would do some basketball books this week. So my first book came out in November of last year. It's called The Book of James: The Power, Politics, and Passion of LeBron. And what I really love about this book is it looks at LeBron James and looks at his sort of work within the Black community and sort of talking about how LeBron James, there a lot of times when, basketball stars or sports stars or celebrities in general sort of hit a certain level of fame, their relationship to their own race, particularly when they're Black, sort of becomes sometimes a little bit wonky. So someone like Michael Jordan or OJ Simpson, where, OJ Simpson used to have this quote where he said, "I'm not Black, I'm OJ." And LeBron James, and LeBron James, that's a whole thing to unpack. But Michael Jordan, sort of rose above and sort of like wanted people to see him as, just a great basketball star and not necessarily a Black man. And LeBron James has really come in and said, "No, I'm a Black person. I come from a certain, area in Ohio, and like I'm going to give back to that community, and I'm going to be very vocal about it." And it really is this like kind of great book about how he's struggled. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. How he's had some struggles with that. Obviously, he's phenomenally wealthy, but like how that has sort of affected how he gets to move through this world. It's a really fascinating book and a really lovely book. Valerie Babb is a scholar of all sorts of different things, but she sort of race is one of the things she is a scholar of. And this is one of those things where she takes her sort of knowledge and her background as an African-American studies professor and applies it to basketball and to LeBron James. So I think it's a really fun one for people, a really interesting book, and maybe a little bit different of a basketball book.
I am very excited about this book. Public Affairs, I had the honor and privilege of working with them for many years. And the publisher there, Clive Priddle, is one of the most intelligent and savvy people in the industry, full of savvy and intelligent people.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see this project coming out from them. And the cover's great.
Thanks.
It's really good.
It was really good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just going to pick it up just because they see that cover and then understand what this book is and take it home. So you've got a winner there.
I think so too. And I do think that, and sorry about that. I forgot to have somebody found it. I was like, no, I'm live.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. I have to make sure when I'm in the store that I put myself on mute. But anyways, no, what he gives back to Ohio, it's amazing. It is truly amazing. What he does. So that looks like a great one.
There's a great companion book that I actually just picked it up. Deborah brought it home a couple of months back, and I'm just getting to it, called Blackball. And it's about the influence of the late 60s ABA Black basketball players getting locked out, getting pushed around, being second-rate citizens, and how they, at a certain point in time, stuck together and worked about. But I think a lot of those prejudices, as Julia was talking about, is the issue that persists with LeBron, where you're supposed to be as white as you could possibly be.
Right.
what you're acceptable with. But Iverson had cornrows. You show up with cornrows, you lost half or a good chunk of in a football game, you lost half the audience. In a baseball team, same thing. Basketball's what the most woke probably of all the sports, but in spite of again whites being a minority in baseball and football, it is so. Anyways, I think it would be good to hear from LeBron for a lot of people.
Yep.
What he goes
Absolutely. Okay, Gabe. Thanks, Julia.
Well, we come back fast to Gabe. So my next book is, and I'm starting to share, sorry, is The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Wang. And what we have, this is a book that was bought in a really hot and heavy auction. So in publishing, agents bring a book to an editor, and there are just a lot of people writing books, and there are just only so many places that are buying books, and you got to have the right kind of book for the right kind of editor. And so if you're published, you're really lucky. And so if your agent brings your book to the table and somebody actually says, I think I want to buy that, it's like, whoa, we just overcome a lot of the odds. It's like winning the lotto. It's like getting struck by lightning. Then on rare occasions, you get a book that the agent takes out and becomes so hot that you got to hold an auction for it. And the publishers involved, sometimes it's just two, sometimes like in this case, it was like 6 or 7 imprints were vying for this book. Is a very competitive bidding war, basically, is what it is. Hey, what am I bid? And whoever has, sometimes you were a number of times we've been underbidders on books and we still get the book because we're HarperCollins and we care. But usually they go for the money. Usually they go for the money. But it's so this book is a really unique narrative. It's a love story that stretches out over centuries. Begins in before the Common Era, 4 years before the Common Era. A young courtier is called upon to seduce the young emperor, and that is the beginning of this contact and what happens in that relationship, good and bad. In some cases, it's kind of catastrophic, and in some cases, it's two people coming together. And then you fast forward, let's say you fast forward to 1740. There's a lonely innkeeper, agrees to help this mysterious stranger procure some medicine. Unfortunately, what it unleashes is a terror and a horror. And it again you find that these two characters, like these two young men that come together into this adventure, are the reincarnations of the people from the 4th century or the 1st century before the Common Era there. And then we move into present day LA and college and raves and drugs and the life that exists out here. And once again, these reincarnated young men come together again. So it is a long love story. And it is a long romantasy, and there are demons, there's magic, there's adventure, there's a quest, there's a big plan underneath it all that holds the novel together. And the reception has been just huge. And I don't want to even say TikTok, but in that world, absolutely. But also mainstream reviews have been strong. Publishers Weekly gave this a star review. It probably got a few more star reviews as well. But really a fast-paced, page-turning adventure novel with a lot of fantastical elements, and these two characters that why do they keep coming together? So there's some real beautiful writing in this book. Justinian Wang is going to be around. Note the name. You heard it here first. You're going to see some other stuff from him that's going to get a lot of attention. He's got a real fertile mind, big imagination.
Can we just talk about that cover for a minute?
I mean, the cover's bomb, right?
Incredible cover. So it's a gentleman that wrote this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is it like 1,000 pages?
No,
No. Okay.
Like, yeah, I don't even think, how much is it? 320.
Oh, okay.
If they did over
Sometimes
320 pages.
sometimes they look like that. I mean, that looks like it would be one of those that would be like a doorstoppy kind of book. I mean, I love those, especially
No, yeah.
with, you know,
No, it's for me. I love a 500, 600 page book. I just at this because I work in publishing. When I retire, I'll be like, I don't care. But I
Right.
got a lot of stuff to read, and as we all do. You know, it's unfortunately a big book is kind of like it's not that we're scared of it. We really love them.
yeah,
But
I love them.
you got to make a lot of time for it.
Yeah,
for a
I
600
love 'em.
page book.
It's good though. But no, that one looks good. And I think I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, I think I need to rename Tea Time to You Heard It Here First, because that's what we're doing. All right, Andrea, tell us what we don't know yet.
Another, I think, lovely cover in
Yeah,
a different
Very
vein.
much.
Comes to you from Greystone Books, and their title that is just publishing tomorrow, Finding the Fox, Encounters with an Enigmatic Animal. This is by Andreas Tjernhagen, Scandinavian. You may have noticed from that name, and we love this book. Now, Greystone does a lot of excellent like nature books. They were the folks who brought us The Hidden Life of Trees, and this little gem that's out right now, The Wisdom of the Hidden Life of Trees, a little gift format with art. And they know how to publish into this category like nobody's business, and we think this is going to be another winner. So the author investigates the fox's place in our own culture, our current day, but then he goes back through mythology to explore that, the fox as it's seen back through time. And he talks about Reynard the Fox, which is the Scandinavian inspiration for Disney's animated Robin Hood. I mean, I love that fox. Come on. Like, such a great Robin Hood like character. It makes sense that the
So
fox,
great. So great.
it makes sense that Robin Hood is a fox. Back through Aesop fables, just all over the place. He runs the gamut on that survey, and then he also like discusses the even though we feel like we know who foxes are, he discusses how they are in many ways more feral and more wild than most wildlife that we come into contact with, and we just really don't know a lot about them, even though we like more and more often come into contact with them. In fact, the other day I saw a female fox out in the front yard under some big cedar trees that my grandfather planted in the 1950s. And it's just like magical, right? But also I'm like, shoo, like, be safe, like, there's dogs, there's cars, but anyway, this is just a really beautiful book, and it looks great. It's a small format, as you can see. They're doing a lot of these small format gifty books, and I just think this is a winner. And it is illustrated too, with mostly photographs every now and again. So there you go.
I love it.
Finding the Fox.
And Amanda is on here around Facebook saying, honestly, might be the best Robin Hood in cinematic history.
I really think like there was a lot of great old school Robin Hood movies back in the day, before any of us were born.
Errol Flynn, the Errol Flynn one.
Yeah, and all those, but I really do love that Disney Robin Hood.
Yeah, love it.
It's like a whole thing that it was like people's first crush was that Robin Hood. Like, there's like a whole generation that had a big crush on that Robin Hood.
Yeah, I mean, well, robbing from the rich to give to the poor, what's not to like be attracted to?
And
also,
fox.
he was a cutie.
And a cute fox.
Cutie. Yeah.
That's hot. HAWT, hot.
You guys are killing me. All right, Julia.
Okay, so I kind of lied. I said everything was about basketball, but I forgot I put a baseball book on here because
Yeah,
it's also,
well,
of course,
It's spring season, so
well, and there have been like the first like regular season game was played in Korea between Los Angeles and the Padres last week. So I did this. This is a paperback book. It's out now. It came out in 2021, so it's a few years old, but just as pertinent as ever. And actually, we have a book coming out in the spring, I think, called the Stadium. That sort of is a broader look at the same thing that this book is talking about. This book is Stealing Home, and it's about specifically the Los Angeles Dodgers and how they came to be in Los Angeles, and how they came to be where they are in Chavez Ravine, the families that were displaced by Dodger Stadium. There was a brutal and bitter fight between the city and the families that live there. This was like a Mexican immigrant village in Chavez Ravine, and they were pretty violently removed from their homes to make way for Dodger Stadium. So I thought this was, as a San Francisco Giants fan, I'm always looking for books about how terrible the Dodgers are. And so this one fits the bill, and definitely, I mean, as a historian and as a person who loves Los Angeles deeply, as a city, even if I hate their baseball team, like, this is a fascinating book about eminent domain, about how when a city gets behind a project, there's sort of no stopping it. And also, I think part of a broader conversation that seems to be happening, particularly right now with the Oakland A's, on what our city is on the hook for when looking at sports teams being in their city, a thing I know San Diego knows a thing or two about.
just a little bit.
And yeah, so so I just think a great book. I thought to talk about the opening of baseball, which is coming soon to America and has already happened in the game that was in Korea last week, or the games that were in Korea last week. I thought this was a good one to talk about.
And I kind of, when I first saw it, I was like, Julia, why are you bringing up a book about the Dodgers? But then when you explain, especially for San Diego, okay, because we're San Diegans and we kind of hate the Dodgers down here. So
I know, it's why we get along so well.
Now, listen,
he told me what it was about. I was like, okay, now I get why she's doing this and bringing it to our San Diego audience. So
I'm coming out as a Dodgers fan because my other
Uh-oh.
grandfather, my paternal grandfather, went to school with Duke Snyder. He went to Compton High with Duke Snyder, now a Hall of Fame center fielder. And so he followed the Dodgers since the Brooklyn days. And it's really hard to not be a fan when your, beloved grandfather is making you listen to all of the games on the radio where the magisterial, sorry, Amanda, wherever you are, the magisterial announcer of all time, Vin Scully, is calling play-by-play. Yes, the whole thing with like how that stadium was built and what happened with the displacement of Latinos is dire and terrible.
yeah, well, and a lot of people that came from that followed them with the Brooklyn Dodgers did not like the fact that they were in it. So it's surprising. Grandfather
became
made
Mets
that.
fans.
Yeah. My grandmother was a huge Dodgers fan. My dad used to joke that he knew Vin Scully's voice better than his own father's because he heard it more.
So great.
But I actually think that the book we have coming up about the stadiums, and sort of this book on a much smaller scale is, I think, a topic that is still, to this day, still is very important, and we're still sort of dealing with, how these stadiums and these big public facilities sort of displace certain people and why they are where they are and how they're
SoFi?
funded.
Yeah.
Can we talk about SoFi?
drain,
Well, that
drain the
SoFi,
public coffers in terms of tax monies going into those, while billionaires, like, could pay for them.
Yeah,
Well,
And
let's
I
talk
totally
San Diego.
agree.
Well, we won't get into San Diego.
well, again, San Diego has a wonderful football field and no football team. That I'm sure the residents of San Diego paid for that football field, with
Which
their
is no
tax
longer there.
dollars.
Which is
What?
now they ripped it down. Anyways,
And I mean,
Oh, it's no longer there.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
you brought this book up, and it's another public affairs title, just to,
Yes.
Oh. oh, but so and Andrea,
Edinburgh again.
Amanda in the background said, "Now you can't use that word until summer." She's just saying.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right, I think we're about at lightning round. So, Gabe.
I'm going to talk about my girl Dervla McTiernan, who I like so much. Writes a great mystery. She is Irish, and
What did I read by her? I just read something by her.
she did a book. She did 2 books with Penguin as paperbacks original, The Scholar and the Rules.
I don't know. I got to look it up because I know
And-
that name.
And
Okay,
then
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
we
Sorry.
did a book with her last year that's just coming out in paperback, and of course I'm not going to remember the title.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But you
go
can
ahead.
find it under Dervla McTiernan, and it's coming out in paperback. But she's one of my faves. The first 3 books were set in Galway, which is a great city, and it's very vibrant and fun and colorful, and very Irish on the west coast of Ireland. And great characters that she developed. So then the 4th book, or the first book that she did with us, was all about the Irish in Maine. And Americans in geography, I'm like, Irish in Maine, and oh yeah, because they're only like 80 miles away from each other. The 2 closest points, right? So that made a lot of sense, but it's like I had no idea. So she sets a really good mystery in Maine, and you get a lot of background and a really good mystery. And in this one, I can just see the TV show or the movie. It was very cinematic, and it is What Happened to Nina is the title of the book. That is the question. Nobody knows what happened to Nina. Her husband, she was out with her husband Simon, and they were together, and next thing you know, they're not. And Simon's story doesn't seem to be holding a lot of water. But Simon has got money, so Simon's parents do all they can to protect him, top legal expensive lawyers and a PR firm, because you never know when you need a PR firm to save your soul. Again, how far will this family go to protect Simon if Simon is in fact guilty, which we don't know. But the family's spending a lot of money to protect Simon. There's a lot of theories. There's a lot of armchair speculation, and kind of like what happens when you don't get a full story, like what happened with Kate, where everybody is making jokes and everybody is like, this could be medieval Europe. The princess is missing. The other guy, wouldn't have happened if they would have just said, "Hey, this is what's going on," and stop playing games. So that is part of what's going on here. Everybody is chiming in. There's all these, because there's no facts, right? If you have no facts, everybody's theories, conspiracy theories, accusations, finger pointing, it's just really out of control. All this, as I was reading about Kate, reminded me about this book, where it's like, it kind of makes sense. You got to have something to fill that void of information that you should have, but you don't. So that's going on. And journalists descend on the small Vermont town that they're from. Everybody's talking about this. True crime is a big deal, obviously, these days. So she picks a little bit on that, and then to what extent and how far will Nina's family go to uncover the truth? And if they don't seem to be getting anywhere, doing all the right things. So maybe it's time to start busting some heads and getting a little bit outside the law to figure out what's going on. So she's creative, she's fun. They're not dark mysteries, but they're pretty hard hitting mysteries. And I'm a big fan. If you like the Irish, you will love Dervla's books. And the last couple have been set in New England. And I usually, when the author goes off their patch, I kind of am always like, oh man, I'm a little scared. But I think she did a really good job.
I love the darker the better.
I like it dark.
Because because my thing with it is if I want to read that, that's what I want. I want to go dark. If I'm gonna,
Go
you
in,
know,
right.
if I'm gonna go in on that,
You'll
because I
have
read
measures.
across the board on everything. If I want to go in, it's like, give me another Silence of the Lambs, give me another, you know. In fact, I just got one. God, what today somebody sent me something that compared it to Silence of the Lambs. Oh, this one. Who is this? Overlook. Is that any of you guys? Somebody just sent me this, Bad Men, which I think the comparison, which I think is really interesting on this. Silence of the Lambs meets Sex in the City is what the Financial Times said about it. I'm going, okay,
That scares me.
That's a combo.
Not Mad Men, not meets Mad Men. That's kind of
Not meets Mad Men. Silence of the Lambs, the Financial Times. Silence of the Lambs meets Sex in the City.
Wow.
And okay, the cover is pretty funny. I mean, I guess I don't know, maybe not be, but the martini glass has an olive and then it's two heads right there. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, we want a full review.
Yeah, I mean that's one that did pique my interest. But see, here's the thing though. But then it says on the cover, wickedly funny. If I want to go dark, I want to go dark. I don't want to be laughing while I'm going dark. Anyways,
I like a funny mystery.
I like a fun right
movie, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but anyways, all right, Andrea, save me.
There's no saving you, Julie, okay? Because you transcend the whole notion of salvation and damnation. Okay, like
there we go.
You're transcending that whole dichotomy.
I love it. So true.
So I am very excited to talk about Chicano Frankenstein
and talk about a great cover.
Yeah, great cover here from Danielle Olivas, Forest Avenue Press. They're a very small little press out of Portland, Oregon. And this is a modern retelling of the Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley classic, as you may have already surmised by the title, and it addresses issues of belonging, identity, and assimilation in this modern day tale. And there's just really quick, because this is lightning round, I think that this endorsement says it all. This is from Xochitl Gonzalez, author of Olga Dies Dreaming. If you're looking for a reverberating literary experiment in a speedy read, that doesn't happen often. And a literary experiment in a speedy read. Danielle Olivas's Chicano Frankenstein is the book for you. In this literary pastiche of timeless novels, beloved TV, and familiar political narratives, the love story of Faustina and the man will reanimate your deepest expectations of humanism into new understandings of monstrosity. Holy cow, that's a beautiful endorsement. What a quote. Anyway, I love this book. A lot of people are across the indie landscape are loving this book, and it's at Warwick's, ready for you to pick up. Chicano
Love it.
Frankenstein.
So good. And a great quote. That was a great.
Amazing quote. And I like how she got reanimate into that about like Frankenstein. Okay, very clever.
She's a blurbing expert.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, Julia, bring it home for us.
All right. Well, I will say that Laura Stanfill, who runs Forest Avenue Press, is a dear friend of mine, and I wholeheartedly endorse anything that she has brought in.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a dynamo.
She's a great editor, and she's also knows every single person in Portland, and it's wild. It's amazing.
Yeah, she has like the Rolodex, the digital Rolodex that everyone wants. She knows everything.
I agree. She's also a delight. So mine is A History of Basketball in 15 Sneakers, the iconic shoes that defined the game. This is a delight of a book. It looks at these 15 different kinds of sneakers, starting with, of course, the Chuck Taylors that were worn by basketball players in the 1950s. It goes through Adidas, Pumas. It goes to the Air Jordans. These were the first Air Jordans, believe it or not. I remember because I was in grade school, and it was a big deal if someone came to school wearing those.
Yeah.
And you knew, well, first of all, you knew their parents had money. These Reebok pumps, they go through the Reebok pumps, which my mom gave me for Christmas one year, my favorite shoes I've ever owned, I think. And then goes through all the different, goes through the Nike Air Swoops, which was the first women's basketball player to get their own shoe, Cheryl Swoops. There's been a lot of conversation lately about how Aja Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces should have her own shoe. I wholeheartedly concur. But this is just a great history of basketball told through the lens of the sneakers that made it great, and how the sort of design of these sneakers has changed over the years. That, you know, as the tech got better and better for, you know, figuring out what people's feet need while they're on the basketball court. I mean, at this point, I can't even imagine having to play basketball in Converse. Like, what a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Right.
How did they avoid broken ankles with no support?
I
Yeah.
doubt they did.
You got
I'm
the
sure
high
they
tops.
just-
That's why you got
Yeah.
the high tops. You lace them up tight. 2 pairs of socks.
Yeah,
Lace them
well,
up tight.
yeah. As someone who used to wear the high tops laced up tight for a long time, I'm gonna tell you they offered no support. They were very cool, but
The
offered
ankle
zero
just broke
support.
above it.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's just like all the guys that you know, climbed Mount Everest in wool and leather.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like unheard of. No one would do that today.
no.
But
You
it's
just-
amazing.
no,
But
so-
that's a really clever book, though, Julia. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's great.
It's a delightful
Great.
book to read. If anyone you know, even if they're not a big basketball fan, but like a shoe person that's like in those lines outside of those shoe stores that I see all the time, I
Right.
never know what's happening. You know, like that. I just think it's such a wonderful book. I feel like there is such a kind of a joy to it of like, let's like celebrate this kind of aesthetic and this kind of I don't know, these designs of these shoes and stuff like that. It's really cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
but I wonder, do they show the old basketball uniforms too? Because let me tell you what,
oh,
was
they're in
some
there.
uniforms,
Short shorts.
Little
shorty
Chamberlain
shorts.
shorts, man.
shorty shorts.
Little
were-
Chamberlain, little tiny
Oh,
shorts.
I know.
And then we went real far in the other direction, and for a while those shorts were humongous.
way too
I
out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
not
then it went
really,
out of
really
control. But
big.
you see some of the old stuff like Walton and some of those guys, what they used to wear back in the day, and it's just like
With those big long legs, those little short shorts. That's a real look. Yeah.
That's a great book, though, Julie. Deborah brought that home for me right away when it came
Yeah.
out. She brought it right home to me because it was. I know you're gonna want this, and it is. I mean, we're looking at it. I remember I'm from the PF Flyers, Chucks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, our uniform in grammar school, middle school was your Chucks, Levi's, and a white T-shirt. You wore that to the dance. You wore that to the library. You wore that to play ball in. We didn't
Right.
have those, you know.
Gabe,
Yeah.
you grew up on the
true.
set of Grease. Gabe.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it's like the
he kind of did.
it's the
LA
iconic and ubiquitous like sneaker. It really
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my granddaughters I saw my granddaughters Wednesday and Thursday last week, and one's sporting the white Chucks, the other one's got the black Chucks, and they got
Yeah.
Jazzy's got her All Stars,
Yeah.
Superstars with the turtle thing, Adidas.
Yeah.
That she's got still. I remember when our basketball coach was like, "We're getting new shoes, and we're all gonna get the same shoes. $25. We all got Adidas Superstars with the turtle."
Yeah.
Very stylish.
The Reebok pumps were you pumped them. I
Pumped
don't know
them.
if you remember. You pumped
Yep.
them
And then they would
tightened.
explode.
Yes. If
They
you
would-
pumped them too much, they would explode. But
The white powder would go everywhere.
yeah,
My son had to
But
have those. My son
you were
loved those
so
pumps.
it was like pretty rad to show up at elementary school in those. Let me
With the
tell
orange
you.
basketball button.
Yeah, a
But
banner
no, this
day.
book though, going back to the book though, I mean, you've got some holiday for people that need some gift ideas. This
Sure.
is
Yes.
like graduation for a guy, Father's Day. There's some
There's
good
a lot
gift
of audiences.
giving.
I think a lot
with
of
this.
Yeah, anyone who likes basketball or even just likes fashion and shoes and things
Yeah.
like that, because you know it really is both.
Well, some of my best things are when I see the ladies that are like 70 and they just are rocking some like really cool, sneakers. It's like I want to
yeah.
be that lady.
My sister.
Yeah,
now.
totally.
It's my sister now. She's just like, I discovered the sneak.
I know.
did too.
I love it.
I got all kinds of cool sneakers now.
I love it.
I just
It's
All
love
right,
it.
everybody.
Awesome.
I think we got some good recommendations. I will report back after tonight with this wonderful event that I'm going to get off here and go and see Colin McCann. It truly is. I mean, that book, American Mother, it's a short book, but man, is it ever impactful. So,
Okay.
that and lots of good stuff next week too, I think, coming out. And some of, like I said, I was blurbing some stuff that's coming out in June. June's going to be a wild month. Y'all
Oh,
got
yeah.
some big stuff
Well, I
coming.
mean, but let's, April is the coolest month. Okay. It's not the cruelest anymore. I mean, there's a lot of things happening in April.
Yep.
So
Can't wait.
stay tuned.
All right,
Yeah.
everybody. Okay, Mandy, you can take us off.